Hello team. Let's have a carb chat. When you're watching this, I will have already run the Berlin Marathon. So make sure you go over and follow me on Instagram because I will be updating there much sooner than I update here. But that's actually mental. That's insane. For those of you who are new here, I'm Sian, I'm a sports nutritionist and I'm running the Berlin Marathon. Oh, I have to say, I am so excited, but also pretty scared. Have been injured for about 2 years, and this is finally my return to marathon running. The aim of this blog has been literally just be sensible, look after my legs, and get to the start line. So, touching all the wood, where's some wood? We're gonna make it to the start. I can't even say it, but hopefully I will have run the marathon by the time you're watching this. But I'm currently in my taper, and don't love a taper, don't love them. I'm very type A, if you don't already know, and I don't like changes in my routine, and I'm doing less to do more. I struggle to sit still, I struggle to calm down. So tapering is not my strong point, but what is my strong point is carbohydrates. So I thought today we would have a bit of a chat about carb loading, because I know for a lot of people, especially if it's the first marathon, to be honest, even if it's your multiple marathon, that's not a word. It's a tricky thing, right? It's something strange to get used to because you're doing less, you need to eat more, but what are you meant to eat? How are you meant to do it? Is it gonna feel good? Can you overdo it? Blah, blah, blah. There's lots of questions, lots of science behind it, which I do greatly enjoy. But yes, today I'm going to just talk you through some carb loading stuff. I haven't actually started my carb load yet because I'm still a week and a half out, but I will start it next week. And by that point, I'll probably be too anxious to speak to you. So I'm going to talk you through it now. So firstly, what actually is a carb load? It's all about optimizing your glycogen stores in your muscles so that you feel as best as possible for race day. In your muscles, you have glycogen, which is basically a form of carbohydrate that your body can store. And this is why we use gels during our running, because that fuel tank of your glycogen can only last about 90 minutes. And obviously we're gonna be running for a lot more than that. So you've got glycogen in your muscles and your liver. So your liver glycogen is what your body actually uses more for your blood glucose level maintenance. So if your blood glucose level is going down during the marathon, your body will call more on your liver glycogen to support that. And if your liver glycogen runs out, that's when the wall is like. If you fuel correctly, you won't hit the wall. Caveat, if you also pace correctly. So the glycogen in your liver is about 100 grams worth, and then in your muscles, you'll store about 500 grams worth of glycogen. And we use this glycogen all the time to maintain movement. Like my arms are probably using glycogen right now. They're using a mixture of fuel sources. So they're using blood glucose, they're using fat, triglycerides, but also glycogen. So essentially think of glycogen as your fuel tanks. And the aim of a carb load is to increase that tank. So you are filling up your tank right to the top. That's the aim of what we're trying to do here. Because normally throughout your training, your glycogen levels are never 100% because you're training fatigue, you're doing so much training, your glycogen levels might not get back up to 100% every time. In fact, they won't. So the idea is combining a taper, so reducing your training and increasing your carbohydrate intake. What will then happen is that your muscle glycogen store will able to be topped right up. And it's also the thing that we do this over a few days because life is still going on, right? Like you're still using glycogen. Overnight, our bodies use glycogen. So in the morning when you wake up, you're depleted, which is why you need to eat breakfast. And again, it's just making sure that you can give yourself the best possible chance on race day. Because you wouldn't go, oh, I've got a really important drive later, but I'll risk running out of petrol. I won't bother filling up at the petrol station, or I'll fill up and I'll only fill up halfway. You go, no, this is important, I'll fill up all the way. So, carb load. Most people for a marathon will do a 3-day carb load. You can get away with 2, that's absolutely fine. Most literature supports around 48 hours of carb loading, but if people are doing it gently, then they tend to do 3 days. Because there are a few different approaches of how we can do it. The science, if we're going by that, says that for an endurance athlete, day to day, just throughout your training, you should be eating 7 to 10 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight. And that's not saying this bagel weighs 40 grams, that's 40 grams of carbs. No, it's actually going, okay, on the bottom of your packet, what's the gram of carbs? So per bagel, grams of carbs. 42 grams in a bagel. I didn't actually know that. So as an endurance athlete, are you having between 7 and 10 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight on a normal day? That's something to think about, because for a carb load, the science supports having 10 to 12 grams of carbohydrate per kilogram of body weight. So if you weighed, for example, 50 kilos, you would need 500 grams minimum of carbohydrate per day for your carb load period, if you were following the guidelines. So that would be for the lower end of the guideline. But the thing is, if you're not eating the amount that you should be day to day, so if you're not eating between 7 to 10 grams per kilogram of body weight, if you then try and eat 12 grams per kilogram of body weight, you are going to feel horrific, because it's the same as how we train our guts with gels during our training. Carb loading is a similar thing, and we don't really get to practice it quite as intensely as we do when we're leading up to a marathon. You might have practiced for a half, which is a great thing to do in training, but if you haven't, that's also okay, because we don't have to follow the approach of weighing our food. Because personally, I do not do this. I do not encourage or go down the line of calculating grams of carbohydrate. I don't think, personally, it's a fun, enjoyable, relaxed experience to lead up to your big day. But it is just worth thinking, like, what is your baseline of carbohydrate that your body's used to eating versus what are you going to do for your carb load? So the two main approaches, right? One, counting, calculating, weighing food. We'll leave that. If you really want to talk about that, as a sports nutritionist, I do help athletes do that. I do that for other people. It's just personally, I'm not a fan. If that is something you want to chat about, we'll chat about that another time. But the other approach is just a proportional increase. Because what we're not doing is completely going wild and increasing our total calories. We're just increasing the proportion of our meals that's carbohydrate. Yes, we might increase energy a bit, but we're not going, okay, we're going to eat double the amount of everything. No, that's not what we're going for. First up, it's things like small swaps. So these two, they are different. This is a protein shake. This is chocolate milk. This is tastier. That's also the difference. This, yes, it does have carbohydrate in it. So this whole bottle has 16 grams of carbs. It's really not very many. This, however, has 26, over 35 grams of carbs. This has double the amount of carbohydrate than this. So during my carb load, this is the one I would be going for, not this one. Another thing is, a lot of people say to me, oh, but how am I meant to do this the healthy way? I would then challenge you and say, so what's healthy for a runner then? What is healthy? What's a healthy carbohydrate? A carbohydrate is a carbohydrate. And if we need a higher proportion of carbohydrates, the best and healthiest way is to do it in a way that's sustainable for us. If you need to eat a very, very large amount of carbohydrate in a day, you cannot be doing it through brown rice alone. Also, the fiber content of that would send you sideways. You'd be having a horrible race day. And you know what? The best answer might be sweets. Pick Mix is a stunning carbohydrate loading snack. Honestly, it's brilliant. Leave it out on the side and then you can get in that extra amount of carbohydrate. Very low fiber, low protein, low fat. It's not going to really mess up your digestion and it's going to give you that extra carbohydrate. It's things like having an extra crumpet rather than having a Baby Bell. It's things swapping things out and actually looking at your plate when you're building it and saying, how can I shift the proportions of this? I'm going to show you this with pasta. Normally you'd have half a bowl of pasta. I want you to increase it 2/3. So that is the proportional extra increase of, if you'd normally have this much, you're adding that extra bit. So then everything else in your balanced plate shrinks down. So your protein shrinks and your fiber shrinks. But this is the whole idea, right? It's proportional increases and going, what would I normally have? Let's add a bit more. And then as well as those proportions for each meal, thinking about increasing the carbohydrate, decreasing something else. Just think, is there a fun way you can add a bit more carbohydrate? So rather than just having a bagel with Marmite, could you have a bagel with Marmite and honey? Sounds weird, but it tastes great. Or actually, if you're making a bowl of oats, you've added some extra oats, could you add a banana? Could you add some honey? Could you add some maple syrup? Could you add some jam? Looking for ways that you can add on top. So those adding on top, quite often it's quick, simple sugars. Perfect, there's nothing wrong with that. Because actually, if you were trying to carb load using only whole food, whole grain everything, your stomach would feel horrific. And that's not the aim. The whole aim of all of this is to make you feel as good as possible on race day. And that's why as well, I don't think that going, okay, I need to have this many grams, I'm gonna shove them in, I'm gonna force feed myself, is gonna make you feel good, right? If you know that's not gonna make you feel good, you don't have to do that. But if you know it does, that's also okay. And that's the thing, I don't want you to compare to what other people are doing with their carb loads. If you take nothing else from this, it's small things add up. So extra snacks, morning, afternoon, and before you go to bed. Slice of toast and peanut butter before you go to bed. Stunning. It actually will help you sleep as well. Another tip is drinking your carbs. So full fat Coke, orange juice, carb mixes if you really want, milkshakes, smoothies, juices. They're all a really good source of carbs. And it's not an excuse to go wild and just eat loads of donuts and cake and pizza, because that's also not gonna make you feel good, right? It's all about small things, make you feel good, increase that carb intake, fill up those tanks, ready to run. And something else that I do when I'm carb loading is I plan it out. So this is me being very type A, but it might help. So I am running on Sunday the 21st, the day before, the Saturday. What do I have to do? I've got a shakeout run in the morning, which I may or may not run, but I'll go. And then in the afternoon, I've got to go and pick up a vest. Right, those are my two things I've got on. So working backwards from the marathon, I'll have my normal breakfast in the hotel, which is what I've practiced through my training to have before my long runs. The night before, I will have an extra bagel or crumpets before I go to bed. And what I do is I write this all in a note in my phone. So I know what I need to have with me when I need to be eating it. Because the last thing you want to do is you've gone to your marathon, you're getting carried away, you've got loads going on, and you're just panicking, and you're going, oh my God, I always do this, I swear. And then I'm like, oh, no, I'm not allowed to say this. It's my vlog. I can say what I want. And then you're going, oh my God, I haven't eaten anything. I need to have a snack. No, because you're prepared. I will take raisin and cinnamon bagels and normal bagels with me in my suitcase. So my suitcase will be trainers, gels, and carbohydrates. I'm okay with that. I might also take some pancakes because they're quite fun. They're a great one as well. Pancakes, you know, just like the bakery syrup pancake, the M&S ones, all like Co-op do them everywhere. Sainsbury's does and Tesco do them. Those brioches, like the little mini rolls. Oh, I'm a sucker for those, the chocolate chip ones. Anyway, so I'll have a snack before bed, but I'll also have dinner. So I have found an Italian near my hotel that will do plain pasta because that's all I'm interested in. I just want plain pasta with tomato sauce. That is my pre-marathon go-to. Perfect. I'll also have a chocolate bar as my dessert. And then actually, after I've picked up my vest on that Saturday afternoon, so what I'm doing here is I'm going backwards. But after I've picked up that vest, I will have a snack, so probably some carb bar. Before that, I will have lunch, perfect. Before that, I will have a morning snack. Before that, I will have breakfast, great. That's my last day of carb loading. 2 days before, so the Thursday and the Friday. So I'm running on Sunday, I'll start my carb load on Thursday. What am I doing on the Thursday? On Friday, I've got a 10:45 flight from Gatwick to Berlin. And it's these kind of things, right? So looking through, so going, okay, so my trigger points in this are, okay, so a few things that might get in the way of me having snacks and having meals. So it's just planning around those and going, I know where I'm gonna have dinner. I know where I'm gonna have that snack. I know what I'm doing here. And it's not just catching you out. And it's also the thing of you don't have to fully stress. The last thing I want you to do is worry about this. This is not the make or break thing, right? Yes, it will help, but it's not gonna make or break your marathon. You've already done all the hard work. Just about giving yourself the best shot. And the other things you can do that week, so this last taper week, sleep as much as you possibly can, rest when you can, sleeping, eating, watering yourself, be a plant, be a plant. Those things matter equally as much. So it's just down-regulating your stress, not stressing about carb loading because that's not gonna help. And just remember, you've done the hard work, right? This is literally the victory lap. So if you are interested in how this is all gone, click subscribe on this channel. I would love that. I really enjoy making YouTube videos, turns out, because I get to chat to you more. I don't just have to think of a hook and try and engage people really, really quickly in nutrition ideas that actually have a lot of nuance. When I'm working with someone, I don't give them a 30-second reel. We speak for an hour about one topic or one part of their training or nutrition. And actually, there's so much more to it than just a piece of advice I can offer over the internet really quickly. And I feel like with YouTube, I can kind of go into that a bit more. The next video will hopefully be some sort of like final taper week, carbohydrate week carbohydrate, let's call it that, carbohydrate week. Berlin Marathon vlog. I also have some podcast episodes. I have a podcast called The Fueled Runner, which you can find on Apple and Spotify and wherever else you listen to podcasts, that have more about carb loading, but it's all very similar to what I've said today. And leave me any comments or questions or anything. And also, let me know what your fave carb loading snack of choice is. Brioche is a big one of mine. I'm gonna stake my name on that actually. Brioche is my extra bonus carb that I eat a lot more of during carb loading than I do in normal life, which is sad. I should eat more brioche. So let me know if you eat more brioche.